Hey, Las Vegas, thanks for joining us back here on Vegas Realty Check, your local Las Vegas real estate news show. And as you noticed today, I do not have Tiana here with us today, but we have Mia Wolf, our returning guest, who's been with us a couple times, and we are so excited.
Yes. Hey, everybody. I love the new set. It looks great.
Thank you. Thank you. Just brought tables and mics. So,
love it.
Yeah, we're loving it. So today's show, we're going to be talking about divorces. What happens to your home in a divorce? Mia, you are definitely specializing in this unintentionally, but it happened, right?
Yes. Not because I've had many divorces,
No,
but because I think 4 out of the last 5 listings that I've represented were divorce sales. So I do have a little bit of knowledge.
And it is a common question. It's not something that we always like to talk about, but it happens. Life happens. And
it's important.
Yes, absolutely. Before we get into that, we're going to talk about the numbers for the week. So just to keep everyone on track of what's going on in the real estate market here in Las Vegas, right now we have 3,486 single-family homes on the market. Down a little bit, but we've been hovering around that 3,000 number a lot. I know I think you were in one of the meetings with me when they said that by August we're going to be at 3,000 in inventory, and it looks like that's going to happen.
Yeah.
547 sold last week. It's pretty good, healthy number. It's been consistent, so we're definitely in a little bit of consistency now where we're seeing around the same numbers every week, which is good. And then 75 price reductions. We are just, it's been happening for a couple months now. Sellers are not dropping prices anymore. This is where it's at. Are you seeing a lot of multiple offers?
You know what? I haven't seen a lot of multiple offers, but, I've noticed it's pricing correctly. It's going to sit there. It's going to wait. You're going to have to price reduce if you don't really have a good starting price.
Yeah. Absolutely. And if you're pricing correctly in the beginning, you're not going to come across that price reduction. And sometimes you just need it to move the property. And a lot of it is, whatever price point you're in. Like, so we're seeing a lot of demand in like the entry level, or not even just entry level. I'd say anywhere from 300 to 600,000. We're seeing a lot of demand. And as it starts to get a little up from there, it starts to slow down a little bit. There's less of a market for it.
True. And I have to tell sellers too, over $1 million, it's just a different market. It's probably going to be on the market longer than normal. When they're seeing days on market, it's going to be more than that.
Yeah.
Generally.
Yeah. A house over $1 million is not going to sell as fast as a house that's 500,000. There's just not as big of a pool of buyers.
It happens. It does. But, generally.
Not always. Yeah, absolutely. So to our topic today, I guess it always starts out, you get the call from the seller. It says, we're going through a divorce. What happens? A lot of times, I feel like people call the realtor before the attorney.
Sometimes.
Yeah, there's many times where it's like we're splitting up, but what's going to happen to the house?
Right. I think and I can only speak from my experience, of course, not a divorce attorney or anything, but I have had a few where the attorney, so they'll go in and say the attorney will recommend, 2 or 3 realtors because they can't decide on somebody. So because both parties have to be accepting of who's going to represent them,
right?
Which can be difficult.
Yeah,
it can be very difficult, especially if it's not an amicable. If they can't talk, some people are in mediation. So if you're going through that, you definitely want to talk to a realtor, but you've got to have somebody that is just even, they're not what is the word? Bipartisan. I don't know.
They're neutral.
They're neutral. They're completely neutral to the situation. Can manage both emotions, and you're not just dealing with one couple that you're talking to. You're generally going to have to talk to this person at this time, and then this person, and then come back and make a decision. So there's a lot of facets. It is distressful.
And sometimes, realtors, we tend to be kind of, we make relationships with our clients when we sell them homes. And sometimes, we have a stronger relationship with one of them than the other, like like we've talked a lot more with this person. Then when it comes time and they're getting a divorce, they say, well, I feel like that realtor's your friend, and I want someone that's not your friend. So there's a lot of cases like that where it's the parties just want someone neutral that neither one of them have any type of prior relationship with.
For sure. And, and I understand that. It makes total sense. But, we are in a community property state. So, that's properties divided equally. Of course, a divorce can be final before or after the sale of the home. So even, the divorce doesn't have to be finalized before they can sell the house, or it can be finalized before they sell the house and both lawyers are present. So it can it can be easy. It can be hard. I think that the deciding factor on how difficult it's going to be is the relationship. Well, the ones that are breaking up,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And if they're talking to each other or not. I've had many times where I've worked with divorced couples where they won't speak to each other.
No.
There is no communication between them whatsoever. So every time that I've communicated with them, text message, I try to do everything text message or email just so they know I'm being neutral. And I will copy and paste the same message to each party so they know there's nothing left out. There wasn't any, they can't go and say, well, this was said and it wasn't said. You're in the middle of kind of the turmoil there being the realtor. So that is, that's something. Another thing that I think I hear a lot about, because it is a common situation. What about when say the wife owned a home before they were married, and they got married and the husband decided to move into that home. So in a lot of cases, that is not community property, right? Because it was owned before they were married. And sometimes they'll come to an agreement, depending on like how much time it was. The judge sometimes will come to an agreement or a compromise in the situation. But there's other times where the judge even says this home is just yours. Your husband doesn't own it. You acquired it before marriage.
Right. And even multiple properties. They might have an investment property that they bought before the marriage. There's so much to it. Make sure you have a good lawyer, number one, and a good real estate agent, number two, because I've even seen things where it was a property like that and they paid one payment out of a mutual bank account. So that automatically turned it into community property. Yeah. Because we paid for it out of a bank account. So there's a lot of things. And of course it's things you don't go into a marriage thinking about that. Like, I better not pay for this out of our shared account.
Well, there's people that do prenuptial agreements and they're really thinking ahead. But other than that,
when people get, a break and a nasty breakup, it's even where they will hold up the sale, because they have to agree on the terms. They still have to agree on what offer to take, to pass up an offer. And so I've had some really, tense conversations with both parties that are like, listen, this is the one offer we have. This is it. It's going to sit on the market. It's not going to get paid out. You're still making the payment on it. This is it. Yeah. And I've had to talk to lawyers and bring lawyers in too and say, hey, this is what they're saying. This is what we're saying. And, can you talk to your clients? And honestly, that is a lot of times what, as realtors, we have to do too, because
we're not just realtors; we're family counselors.
Yes, my counseling degree gets used a lot.
Yeah, it is, and that's the other thing is sometimes when they're going in, they're split up. Sometimes one of them still lives in the home and really does not have motivation for that home to sell. And that is, I actually think that that's a bad idea when you're going through a divorce to have one of the spouses still stay in the home, especially if they don't really want to sell, because I've seen them cause trouble with access, with
showings.
not keep the house in what they know is showable, condition, all of that just to drag it out longer.
Right. And I have in sales, given an update of this was a showing request. This is how compliant the client was showing to show that they were compliant. They were always, the house looked good and everything like that. But I could see on the flip side how difficult somebody could be.
Yeah, absolutely. And with rates the way that they are now and where they used to be, that has been a common factor that comes up a lot, and when people are getting divorced or splitting up, that, there's one person that says, I don't want to lose this rate because I have to,
right.
It's like, well, you have to buy it. If you want to keep the home, in most cases, you're going to have to buy them out.
Right.
That would mean refinancing and paying out. You'd have to have an appraisal done to see what the current value is. And then that would be refinancing the home to pull out that equity, unless you have that cash somewhere to pay them out their half of the current equity.
Right.
And even... we don't see it much these days, but I've seen it happen before. Sometimes when people get divorces, there's no equity.
Oh, yeah.
Or there's negative equity.
Right.
And there's fees that have to be paid just to sell the home, just to get rid of it. But both husband and wife are on the loan. So the judge will order, if they don't agree to keep it and stay with it with both of them on this loan together, the judge will order that the house has to be sold.
Right.
And if it's negative, they have to also split that negative cost. If they have to come out, $10,000 out of pocket, that means each of them have to come up with $5,000 to cover the terms of the sale. So we don't see that as much these days. That's good for people.
Right. And even the possessions in the house too, because I've had to go through and do inventory for, the lawyer will have a list of, this is this property, this is their property, and in this situation they couldn't even be around each other, and they couldn't take their stuff, and they needed to know where it was. Am I really going to get my stuff? And I had to do a video inventory showing, here's all the stuff, here's the boxes, they'll be shipped, they'll be there. But, a lot of times, like all of the furnishings, paintings, things like that, the judge can order them to be sold if they can't agree on it and split the money on it, or, whose possession was this? Right. So it can get very lengthy too.
Yes.
And at the same time, trying to help them find somewhere else to live in the meantime, and 2 other houses. So it could get to, 3 transactions at once.
Yeah. And that leads into the next question, finding them somewhere else to live. So a lot of times people are, they want to sell the home and they want to use their part of the proceeds to buy another home, which would be like a contingency, or maybe they're just buying another home separate. However, if you're not legally and officially divorced yet, there's a very important step to that that you need to, I mean, even some people that have been separated for years and don't really realize this, there's a reason why the lenders and the title company have a questionnaire that says, are you married or not? And it's because of the title issues that can come up, because we're a community property state. So they could be, what could happen, or what should happen. The way that you should do it is the spouse signs a quitclaim deed before closing. I always recommend, especially when people are going through divorces, because I've been backed into that corner in a transaction a few times with people where they were going through a divorce. Husband says, I'll sign the quitclaim deed, no problem. Their divorce gets messy over the 30 days, and then we're at closing, and whatever item they're negotiating at the time is now the quitclaim deed's going to be collateral for that item. Right. And it is not good.
It's not good. It's not good.
Because they have earnest money deposit. We're past all the contingencies. So now when I meet people that are going through a divorce and trying to purchase a home, day one, I call the title company and I say, get a spousal deed. They need to come sign this quitclaim deed now. Not later, now.
I more than once, I've, been at closing and they're like, oh, yeah, I'm married. And we're like, we've asked you this. Where is it? Oh, we've been separated for years.
10 years.
Do you know where they are? You have to find them. What if you can't find them?
I had a lady once who couldn't find him. We were like looking up death certificates.
Yeah.
We're like, I don't know. He dropped off the face of the earth. No one knew where this guy was, and could not find him.
Right.
Yeah.
So what they do?
That the underwriting would not approve the loan because she's legally married, and we don't know who this spouse is. Yeah.
So it's a big deal. Like if you're still married, even if you've been separated for, there's not a statute of years that dissolves a marriage. And something else that's really important, and I just think it's important for anybody anyways, but is to know how much of your loan you still owe. Because I don't know how many times, in not just divorce, but in a regular sale, they think, well, we only owe this much on our home. And then at closing, or when we're doing some hard numbers, when they get the payoff comes, they're shocked and really surprised that they thought they, had paid it off a lot more.
Or
solar.
They don't really realize that what they cite. So many people have these like leases and they think it was free, and then the payoff comes in for it, or they have to pay it out at closing. There's those are things. And people that did the forbearance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So people that took advantage of the forbearance when we went through all this with COVID, they had many of those banks. They didn't forgive. They never forgive that balance. They just added it to the end.
Yep.
And the interest and everything made whatever amount you delayed turn into double. And that has been, I've ran into that a couple times where people were shocked when that came through. So those are all good things to find out as soon as possible. Even the title company, if you're in question on anything, with the title company, we can tell them to order the payoff ASAP, get it on rush so that we know what we're dealing with. But that's very important.
Yeah, because a lot of times, that you look on your app and you think this is what it is, and it's usually not exactly what the actual payoff is. So I think that's important for everybody.
Yeah, most definitely. And if you did have a spouse on title with you, and maybe that spouse is deceased and you just never thought about it, or you divorced or something like that, that also can be an issue that we run across at closing. So all of these title things, your realtor, I know I always get a preliminary title report. You always get a preliminary title report. Most realtors will, but that's definitely something to make sure that you get and review to make sure that you're not at closing table and come into some big issues that you can't close.
Right. Even child support. I've seen child support pop up before, and they're like, hey, that's not mine. And, it came up on the preliminary title report, and, it took the weeks all the way up until closing to get it cleared, because they actually have to get a judge on the phone to say, okay, this is not that person, or this is that person, because that can hold up the sale too.
I don't think, was it you? I had a realtor tell me recently that they were at a signing at a closing, and it was a child support lien or something that came up, and you have to sign the documents, that this, I certify this is me, or whatever it is. And the wife didn't know anything about it. The husband was well aware.
Oh, of the child support that was owed.
The child. The wife didn't know there was a child. Yes. And it's like, well, we're all here together and we're learning about this.
That's right. Real estate is an emotional game too.
So it was some realtor I know. I don't know who told me about that recently. I'm like, that had to be the most uncomfortable signing ever. Right. She said they continued with everything. Everything was, it all wrapped up. But that was the first time it ever. The wife had ever heard about it.
Nice.
So in summary, it's what to do. A lot of times, if you're unsure what's going to happen to the house, if you and your ex-spouse or soon-to-be ex-spouse can come into agreement, that always makes things easier in every aspect of divorce. Sometimes the judge will order certain things to happen. I've seen times where it's not 50-50. And that will be, up to the judge's order if it happens through the divorce, if the house is an item, through the divorce. If that happens, we navigate through that. The title company will ask for a copy of the decree and all of those things to talk about distributions and how they happen. It's not always, as I said, it's not always 50-50. It's not always awarded to one person, and even if the house is awarded to one spouse, in most cases, that spouse has to be able to get the home out of the husband's name, or I'm saying husband just for talking purposes. Right. But if the house is in two people's name and the wife decided to keep the house, she still has, a lot of times the judge will order, like, within a year you have to refinance this, and if you have a 3% rate, you're refinancing into a 6% rate. That's not their problem. If you're keeping the house, you have to get his name off the loan. He can't keep his name on the loan for your house, because that could prevent him from getting another home.
And even if they're thinking they're going to keep the house or going to pay them out or buy them out or whatever, I've seen where it's a lot for one person. I mean, we're mostly in 2-family income households. Yeah. So for one spouse to keep the house and then all of a sudden have the overhead, all of the upkeep, you still have HOA fees, you still have insurance, even if the house is paid off, and it's a lot. So you want to have an agent, honestly, even a good lawyer, but you want to have a good real estate agent that is honest and truthful, and can tell, say, hey, this is what, home ownership is, and can have an honest, genuine conversation with both of you, about what your future is. Because it does, it helps. You're going through this and you need someone to talk to as well as ask these important questions. And you don't want everybody to know your business, so to have a really trustworthy, professional realtor is going to be key to just this how smooth it goes as well.
Yeah, and going to step into the situation non-emotionally.
Yeah,
I mean that's sometimes if your realtor is your best friend and hates your husband for being a jerk.
That's not
definitely probably not the right person for the job.
No.
Yeah. So that is most definitely, and who you hire, and people that hiring a realtor that has been there and knows a little bit about the situation, I think is a big factor, because you kind of don't want to go through this big, huge situation in your life with someone that's learning about it along the way too.
And experience. I would ask the realtor, have you ever represented a divorce sale? Because there is, there are two sides to it. You've got to know how to navigate with the lawyers. You've got to give reports to the lawyers. A lot of times you have to be able to handle the mediation situations. We're not talking about multiple offers. We're talking about multiple conversations with two people to really negotiate. We're not just negotiating for the sale. We're also negotiating with two people that have to accept this. And so it is important experience and, professionalism, and that has the ability to be, handle the stress of it.
Yeah. And communicating with the attorneys. I mean, that's huge.
It is.
Because you don't want your client going and relaying stuff to the attorney that's trying to relay what you just told them when they don't really know much about it. They'll do real estate. It's very hard to not have direct communication.
I think a lot of times people rely on their attorney to have the real estate information. And listen, attorneys are professionals in what they do. They're asking me the questions, hey, what is this? What does the market look like? They don't have any idea. So they really do rely on us and our facts and our statistics to let them know, like, hey, how do I need to navigate my client on this? So
absolutely. When attorneys sell houses, they will hire a realtor.
They don't sell their own house.
There's some. There's some, but most attorneys know enough to to hire a professional to get the job done, because we're professionals in our own fields for a reason.
That's the truth.
So, Mia, if somebody is encountering this situation, or has a friend or somebody that is going through a tough situation like this and wants someone to talk to about how they can handle it and what they can do, who do they call?
Yes. So it's Mia Wolf, and I'm on Instagram, Facebook. My number 702-412-7255, and you can pretty much reach me anyway. Send me a message, a text message, or a call, and I would be happy to speak with you about it.
And if you want to get a hold of me, my name's Trish Williams. Phone number 702-308-2878. And call, text. That's the best way to get a hold of me as well.
And we share an office, so you could just swing by the office.
Yeah,
and
you can come by and visit us both.
Yes,
Yes, most definitely. So that would be great. Come by and say hi. We're in Green Valley. And thank you guys for watching. If you are watching the show, please like, comment, download, subscribe, tell your friends about us. And we hope you enjoy the information. And see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.